Welcome, welcome, welcome. I want to really wish you a happy new year. I want to pray God's blessings over you. I really hope that you achieve that which you desire in your lives. And over the next few weeks, I want to spend some time talking through the whole idea of performance improvement. Now, performance improvement is interesting because we look at business results and we wonder, well, how do we improve our business results? Well, to improve your business results, to improve my business result, I have to improve the performance of the business. To improve the performance of the business, we have to improve a number of things in the business. Now, HR leaders, managers always struggle to figure, well, how do we get performance to improve? How do we get people to improve their performance? And one of the things that I want to discuss over the next few days, and I want to do a live every single day at 1 p.m. So it's something I want to do over every weekday at 1 p.m. Because as we go into 2022, things have changed, situations have changed, circumstances have changed. But the reality of improving performance of our people hasn't gone away. In actual fact, I believe it's even more critical for us to improve the performance of our people because of the challenges that we face. Because we can no longer have organizations that where some of the people are performing, some are not. Now, people are always going to perform at different levels. The issue, though, we have to find a way to improve the performance of those who are not performing well, and those who are performing okay, we need to up that improvement, and those who are doing great, we need to even improve that. Now, if I use a sporting analogy for you, you begin to see what I mean when I say that organizational performance is tied to individual performance. Individual performance is tied to behavior change. I'm going to repeat that. Organizational performance is tied to individual performance, and individual performance is tied to behavior change. Now, how do we change behavior? There's a series of things, and I'll share with you a model that will help you look at the mechanics of performance improvement. Because a lot of us, a lot of organizations, we want our results to change, we want our performance to change, but we don't want to change. I'm going to relate the two. We want our performance to change as individuals, we want our results to change, but we don't want to change. As organizations, we want our results to change, our performance to change, but we don't want the organization to change. And more importantly, from an organizational level, I have found that while senior managers want things to change, senior management don't want to change. Because for you and your organization to see change and to see performance improve, senior managers must be prepared to change behavior, to change what they do, to change how they do things, to change how they think. That's what I want to talk to. And again, give me some feedback as I go through the session. I mean, we want to do 15 minutes just to give you some insights. And it's going to take time. So we're going to do it 5 days a week over January to really give people an insight and opportunity to think through the process of performance improvement, to think through the process of individual change and behavior change. Because one of the things that we as human beings don't like to do is change. But the link between performance improvement, organizational results and behavior, and individual behavior is essential. If you have a team and the individuals in the team don't change, or a couple change and the rest don't, you're not going to see the effective performance of the team. I've been looking at Formula One with my son recently, and I realized that the winning a Formula One championship is not just dependent on the driver of the car. It's dependent on a host of people and how they perform individually. So, using the sports analogy again with someone like Tiger Woods, who fantastic golfer, but when he had personal challenges, it impacted his performance on the field. So to your people, so to our people, when they have personal challenges, impact their behavior and impact their performance ultimately. So, how do we, as HR professionals, CEOs, managers, leaders, individuals, go about improving performance, changing results, and really at the core essence of it, changing behavior? The model I've looked at is effect, cause, the effect, the cause, execution, model, mirror, and implications. Let me explain that a little bit more. If you think about how do you know when performance needs to improve? What are the indicators? Because there's normally a visual indicator that performance needs to improve. You normally think through or have an understanding of what needs to change. So, what I want you to do is to think about what are the visual indicators for you, and for you personally, because as you go into 2022, you want to begin to look at what are the visual indicators, what are the indicators that tell you that your performance needs to improve. So as an individual first, then if you run a department, a division, a section, an organization, what are the indicators for you? What are the results? What are the measurable results that tell you that things need to change? That's the first step, is the effect. And I want us to be practical as we go through the session. So write down, get some pen, get some paper. I like pen and paper personally because I think there's something that happens between, when things go through from your head through your hands to paper. So I like to write. So, but you may like to type, you may want to take notes on a tablet or on your phone. So I really look forward to hearing and to seeing your feedback as far as that is concerned. So that's the first thing I want you to kind of think about and look at. What is the effect? What tells you that things are to change? Because that's the first sign, the first indicator, or this is the first indicator we must identify to be able to change things. Because if we don't know what needs to change, then we can't change it. If we don't accept what needs to change, then we won't be able to change it. So the first idea is the whole idea of appreciating the effect, right? What is the thing that needs to change? The second thing is the cause. What is the cause of that effect? And what we have is a performance issue that's tied to a behavior and a mindset issue. So effect is really a visual indicator that we can see and we can measure that tells us things have changed. The cause is something that's below the surface. It's not as easily identifiable. So we need to go below the surface to understand the cause. That's the second step. The third step is the whole idea of then setting expectations. Because if we look at performance improvement, we have these appraisals. We do appraisals, we go through a process, and then we have no conversations until the next appraisal. Or we may have a conversation, but it's not specific in terms of the performance improvement required. So you have people coming into appraisals and they're not certain what needs to change. They're not certain what to expect because it has not been clearly identified. So expectations come next. So again, effect, cause, and an expectation. Then we have the model. So we've defined that we have now defined what to expect. So we know what to expect. We then have to create a model of how are we going to go about making that change, both in terms of process and culture. Process and culture. Because if we simply create something that impacts one individual, then we're going to have a challenge because the person is not going to see the same thing applied across the organization, and therefore we'll get frustrated with process. So it's important that we look at it from a perspective of process, and that's documented process or system, and then culture. We need to build into the culture of the organization. Then we want to look at mirror. How do we test, measure, and report? Because if we're not transparent in the mirror where the person can see themselves, knowing that things should change, knowing that this is what's happening, this is how they're doing, the the constant conversation that needs to take place between you and the individual, the organization and the individual, the manager and the individual, HR and the individual, to help the person understand how they're doing, how they're improving. We have these processes, but we do not take the time to be honest, transparent, and report in a very consistent, deliberate way, so people know they're getting better or they're not getting better or they're the same. Because with that sort of honest discussion, and that's really what I call the mirror, the person is not going to see the improvement that they expect. And the final part of that process is really implications. There has to be rewards or consequences. People must understand that there's a reward for doing well and for improving your performance, and there are consequences for not doing so. Because without that, again, you're not going to see the required change. Now, here's the thing that's important. There has to be consistency as it relates to how we apply these rewards and consequences. In my experience, I have seen too many organizations put rewards and consequences in place, but don't apply it consistently across the board. Now, as a past CEO, I spent time running the Dominica business for Cable and Wireless. I spent time running the Grenada business for Cable and Wireless, and that to me was critical. I spent 2.5 years in the Middle East as well, running a commercial operations department for Tel Yemen, and I found myself in a place where I had mainly men, in the organization. But what I had to do was make sure that me coming in as an expatriate, I had to apply consistent principles across the board. So people had to know that if they did this, regardless of who they are or where they are, that would be the consequence, that would be the reward. People had to know if they wanted a particular thing, that if they met the criteria for that, then they would get whatever they'll be rewarded with whatever it is. So the idea of consequence, the idea of rewards has to be consistent. So that's the model, and we'll walk through that over the next few weeks. But for now, I just wanted to kind of begin the conversation around what are the identifiers for you, for your organization, for your department, in terms of performance improvement. What are the improvements you want to see in the performance of your organization, your division, your department, your people over the next 12 months? Because if you don't identify it now and set clear objectives and expectations of people, then it's going to be difficult and inconsistent. And in actual fact, it's going to hurt you in terms of your morale and your employee engagement if you are not able to identify it early and people are not clear what the expectations are. So I want to just implore you to take some time. And if you give me some feedback, actually, when you give me some feedback, I'll take the time to respond to the feedback, in the conversations. But your ability to be clear on expectations, clear on the effect and what is identifiable as lack of performance is critical. So first start with you and determine for yourself as you go into 2022, what are the criteria that you have set for yourself in terms of performance? Look at 2021 and say, okay, if in 2021 I performed at that level in these particular areas, and again, it's not a overarching or overall performance issue. It's a very detailed and specific. So you may want to determine how you performed in relation to leading your people, how you perform in terms of specific functional area, how you perform in terms of revenue, how you perform in terms of customer service. Now, again, if you want to measure those things, if you want to use them as results, you have to be able to measure them. We can't speak about employee engagement if we don't measure employee engagement. We can't speak about results if we don't have very clear standards or indicators of what those results are. So today, as I close, I really want to encourage you to take some time to determine what success looks like for you. Be specific about what it looks like. and then determine, okay, what is the gap between where I want to be in terms of performance and where I am today, and what is the improvement gap there is between where I am and where I need to be. So I really hope today has been helpful for you in terms of looking at what are the what's the path or the process in moving or improving your performance in yourself, in your organization, and in your team. All right, Coach Ian be saying, take care, stay safe, be blessed. Looking forward to your feedback.